Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security, joins us live here on the Hill. Stephen, thanks for running out to the camera for us. We appreciate it.
Great to be here, Blake. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So the president made those comments over the weekend, Stephen. He was asked about the possibility of a recession. He didn't necessarily say no. The markets didn't love it. They sold off today. Of course, the tariffs are hanging in the background as well. The president keeps talking about some short-term pain. How much short-term pain should the American public be ready to be hit with potentially?
Well, I think the right way to think about this, Blake, is we inherited 4 years of economic catastrophe from the previous administration. All net job growth for the previous 4 years went to foreign-born workers. What little economic growth did occur was a result of government hiring, which was driving inflation. Of course, we had record inflation in the economy for 4 years. American energy was shut down. Energy prices exploded. Regulation strangled innovation and hiring all across the country. And then on top of that, you saw the massive outshoring and outsourcing of American jobs to foreign countries, Canada, Mexico, China, and so on. And so President Trump is now taking the necessary steps to pull our economy out of these multiple crises that he inherited. By definition, there's going to be a transition period to tame inflation, bring our factories back, which are now, you have hundreds of companies announcing because of the tariffs.
How long is that
back
transition?
To the United States of America.
Yeah, how long is that transition period? Because I heard you, blame the prior administration off the top, and I've heard a transition period, and I guess it goes back to the same question, Stephen, of how long should the American public be prepared to wait?
Well, I think the most important point is that we're already seeing the economic benefits of this change in policy. The last jobs report, the first of the Trump administration, showed 250,000 job gains for American citizens. For the first time in recent memory, all job growth was the private sector. Only the government sector lost jobs because, of course, we're downsizing government, which is, again, what is driving inflation, is the growth in federal spending. You also saw, as I mentioned earlier, that American workers gained 100% of the new jobs, while foreign workers lost jobs. Again, you're seeing the benefits of deportation. So already we are seeing that the last 4 years was a depression for American workers. Because, again, there was no jobs growth for U.S.-born workers. The jobs stats also were artificially inflated by the massive growth in government. So we are now in the process under President Trump's leadership, downsizing government, deporting the migrants, taming inflation, reopening American energy, and creating trade fairness around the world so that we have factories in the United States of America. I get it. Wall Street loves when factories open in China. Main Street needs those factories in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Nevada and all across this country.
That's fair, Stephen, but Main Street also doesn't want a recession, right? No one wants a recession. And the president was asked about it over the weekend. Here's what he said, and I'll get your reaction.
The way to make sure that we have the economy that we need is to pass President Trump's tax bill.
I'm going to get there.
Democrats uniformly are saying they're going to oppose. That tax bill is the single best thing that can happen for our economy, Blake.
I'm going to get there in a second. I want to, just for our audience here on NewsNation or those listening to us on SiriusXM, to hear what the president said over the weekend. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America.
Does he regret not saying no when he was asked about a possible recession?
No, his comments are exactly right. It's not our job to make these kinds of prognostications. It's our job, under President Trump's leadership, to fix the economy, to stop 4 years of bleeding. Joe Biden left us with an economic nightmare of inflation and joblessness that President Trump is fixing. I don't think you appreciate, Blake, the magnitude of what President Trump is in the process of repairing. We have an unsustainable defense commitment around the world that is bleeding our defense budget dry. We have critical manufacturing and supply chains, like chips and semiconductors, that are housed almost entirely in foreign countries. Other countries could shut the lights off on America unless we bring these critical supply chains home. Not to mention rare earth minerals, in which we are again dependent on foreign countries for essential minerals that we need to power this nation. President Trump has inherited a country that was on the path to economic oblivion. $36 trillion in debt, unsustainable growth in government spending, and the shuttering of American energy. He is one by one fixing each and every one of these crises, not to mention, as I said earlier, the fact that illegal aliens and foreign workers are consuming all the jobs and driving up the deficit by consuming government benefits.
So let me ask you about...
That is what he is fixing, and that's why his policies are overwhelmingly popular with the American public.
Let me ask you about the border, Stephen, which of course is a part of your portfolio and has been for quite some time. The cartels, what is your belief of their capability with drones, and how is the administration planning on counteracting that?
Well, obviously, I can't discuss anything on this air that would involve sensitive information. But what I can say is that the cartels are foreign terrorist organizations. They are the ISIS of North America. They have the ability to project power all across this hemisphere. They have massive and dangerous artillery. They are extremely sophisticated. They are able to control political systems through a campaign of assassination, intimidation, and terror. They meet every single definition of a foreign terrorist organization, which is why they have been so designated. It is untenable for the national security of the United States to have these paramilitary terrorist organizations that control large swaths of territory in Mexico, able to control what and who enters the United States. And that's why you have seen President Trump militarize large segments of our border to ensure that we have operational and territorial control. This is an essential prerequisite of our national security.
But before I leave you, Stephen, and I know you got to run, we use drones to drone the Houthis, which are foreign terrorist organizations. Is it under discussion for doing the same with the Mexican cartels?
I'm not going to make any news here today on that. I will just reassure you that the president will do what is necessary to keep America and Americans safe.
Got to leave it there. Stephen Miller, again, I appreciate the time. Hope you come on back here on the Hill on NewsNation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Blake.